Let me ask you something you may not have considered in a while. When was the last time you walked into a room and forgot why you were there? Or struggled to recall a word you've used your entire life? If you're over 70, moments like these can feel like silent warnings. Like signs that something's slowly slipping, your focus, your sharpness, your clarity. You may have laughed it off the first time. But deep down, a part of you wondered, is this the beginning? Here's the truth. Losing your mental edge is not an unavoidable part of aging. It's not about luck. And no, it's not just about genetics either. There are small things, very small, almost invisible things, that can make a massive difference in how your brain works every single day. And that's what this video is all about. 5 mini habits. Not major lifestyle overhauls. Not expensive supplements. Just simple daily actions, backed by neuroscience, that can keep your brain awake, alive, and sharper than it's been in years. And yes, none of them require pills. Stay with me until the very end, because the 5th habit is the one that seems ridiculous at first glance, yet may be the most powerful brain activator of all. Now, let's begin. Let's be honest. A lot of people believe that aging and forgetfulness are tied together like thunder and lightning. One brings the other. But what if that's just a myth we've been told? Modern neuroscience is breaking that narrative. According to researchers at Harvard, the brain retains its plasticity, that is, its ability to adapt, grow, and form new connections, well into our 90s. Yes, you read that right. The problem is not aging. The problem is inactivity. Not just physical, but mental inactivity. When we stop engaging, stop learning, stop challenging the brain, it starts shutting down what it thinks we no longer need. It's like a library that begins locking up rooms it assumes no one visits anymore. But with a few key habits, you can keep every single room open, and even discover new wings you never used before. We're going to walk through 5 habits that act like keys. They may seem small, but they're deceptively powerful. The kind of things that, done daily, reshape your mind in subtle but lasting ways. Let's start with the first. We're going to begin with something deceptively simple, the kind of thing that sounds too easy to matter. But stick with me. It's called the 2-minute recall, and here's how it works. Every evening, before you go to bed, take exactly 2 minutes to write down or say aloud everything you can remember from your day. But here's the trick. You must do it without looking at your phone, calendar, or notes. Just sit down, close your eyes for a moment, and then start. What did you eat for breakfast? Who did you talk to? What color was the sky this morning? What was the last thing you watched on TV? Don't worry about getting it all. The point is to challenge your brain to retrieve information, not just absorb it. Why this matters? The hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory, is like a muscle. It needs resistance. Recalling events from the day forces it to work. It strengthens pathways, helps encode long-term memory, and even boosts something called episodic memory, which is what allows you to mentally relive experiences. In studies done with older adults who practiced this for just 5 days, measurable increases in memory performance were observed. But here's the real magic. After a few weeks, you'll start to notice details more clearly during the day, because your brain knows you'll be tested at night. And guess what that means? You become more present, more observant, and more mentally alive. You don't need to write a journal. You don't need a fancy app. Just 2 minutes of honest recall, every night. Simple, free, powerful. And now, let's move to the second habit. Let me ask you something that may seem unrelated at first. When you go for a walk, assuming you do, where does your mind go? Some people let their thoughts drift aimlessly. Others put on music or listen to a podcast. And many just focus on breathing and movement. But there's a way to turn that simple walk into a mental workout that's far more powerful than you'd expect. It's called the brain walk method. Here's what you do. The next time you take a walk, whether it's around the block, in your garden, or even indoors, choose a mental category before you begin. For example, U.S. presidents, types of fruit, first names of people you've known, countries you've visited or want to visit, movies with the word love in the title. Then, as you walk, try to list as many items in that category as you can. No phone, no writing it down. Just in your head. Challenge yourself. Set a goal. Try to beat your previous number the next day. Why does this matter? Because this habit does three things at once. Combines movement with cognitive recall, which has been shown in brain scans to light up neural activity far more than either alone. Stimulates language and memory centers, especially the temporal and frontal lobes, the very areas most vulnerable to age-related decline. Encourages associative thinking, which is the mental process of connecting ideas, a skill essential for maintaining sharpness, creativity, and problem-solving. In fact, researchers from the University of Illinois found that walking combined with word retrieval exercises improved executive function in adults over 65 more than crossword puzzles or Sudoku. You might not even realize how powerful this is at first. But over time, this kind of mental jogging keeps your mind from stiffening up, just like stretching helps your body stay flexible. And here's the bonus benefit. You start to look forward to walks, not just as exercise, but as a challenge. A game. A ritual. A joy. Try it once. You'll be amazed how fast your brain starts organizing itself more efficiently. Now, we've done recall. We've done movement. Let's get into something a bit quieter, but just as potent. It's early afternoon. You feel a bit foggy. You've been reading or watching something for a while. Maybe you're thinking about what to cook. You're not tired enough to nap, but not sharp enough to focus either. We all get that feeling, that mental drift. Here's what most people do. They ignore it. Push through. Grab a coffee. Switch tasks. Turn on the TV. Here's what you should do instead. Practice the 90-second stillness reset. Find a seat. Sit down with your feet flat on the floor and your hands resting on your thighs. Now close your eyes. Set a timer for 90 seconds, not more. And breathe slowly through your nose. No music. No guided audio. No mantras. Just sit and let your thoughts settle. You'll notice something interesting. At first, your mind will race. You'll think about your to-do list. You'll remember something you forgot to do. That's fine. Let it come and let it go. By the 40-second mark, your breathing starts to deepen. Your shoulders drop. Your eyes, though closed, stop flickering. And by the end of the 90 seconds, your brain will have rebooted itself. Why does this work? It gives the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, attention, and working memory, a break. Just like you'd rest your leg muscles between walks, you need to rest your mental muscles. Short, intentional stillness periods reduce cortisol, improve mental flexibility, and allow your brain to return to tasks with higher clarity and lower noise. Think of it like closing all the tabs on your browser. Just 1.5 minutes of stillness, twice a day, after breakfast and before dinner, can recalibrate your whole mental state. And best of all, you don't need a quiet house. You don't need incense. You don't need a special chair. You just need intention. Try this habit for 1 week and watch what happens to your focus, your mood, and your conversations. Now, 3 habits in, and we've already covered memory recall, movement, and stillness. But what if I told you your speech might be the biggest untapped mental weapon you have? Stay with me, because the next habit is the most surprising yet. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, a study was done on a group of older adults, aged between 70 and 85. Half of them were given crossword puzzles and memory games. The other half were given something radically different. They were asked to learn something new, then teach it to someone else, a spouse, a neighbor, even a grandchild. Guess which group showed the biggest gains in cognitive function? Not the puzzle group. Not the game group. The teachers. Why? Because nothing activates your brain quite like trying to explain something to someone else. That brings us to mini habit number 4, the teach it back technique. Here's how it works. Every time you read an article, watch a video, or even listen to the radio, pick one idea, just one, and explain it out loud to someone else. But don't just recite it. Teach it. Use your own words. Create examples. Ask questions. Add your own opinion. If there's no one around to teach it to, pretend someone's in front of you and speak it out loud anyway. Now you may be thinking, talking to myself? Yes. Because it's not about who hears it. It's about what happens in your brain when you try to explain something clearly. You force your brain to retrieve the information, organize it logically, translate it into speech, use emotional tone, and adapt it for an imagined listener. That's 5 separate brain systems firing at once: memory, reasoning, language, speech coordination, and social cognition. It's like a full-body workout for your mind, but in just a few minutes. Here's the beauty: you don't need to be an expert in anything. You don't need perfect grammar or a wide vocabulary. You just need the willingness to say, out loud, "Let me try to explain this." Even once a day is enough. Try it after watching a YouTube video like this one. What did I learn? How would I explain it to my niece? What was the most surprising part, and why? This habit trains your working memory, strengthens verbal fluency, and activates what neurologists call the default mode network, the brain's powerhouse for introspection, learning, and empathy. Now imagine doing that daily, and what it could do for your conversations, your confidence, and your clarity. Most people consume information. Very few process it deeply. This is your secret weapon. But as powerful as that is, nothing compares to the final habit. Because this one feels so small, so silly, that most people ignore it entirely, and yet it may be the most neurologically rich of all. Let's go there next. If you've made it this far, you've already gone further than most. And now it's time to talk about a habit that many people dismiss, simply because it doesn't look like a brain exercise at all. It looks like fun, and it should. Here's mini habit number 5, the one-song challenge. Every single day, pick one song. Any song you love. Could be from the 40s, the 60s, the 80s, or even something modern. And while it plays, move to it. Yes, move. You can clap, tap your foot, sway, walk in place, nod your head, snap your fingers, sing along, dance if you feel it. Just move with the music. Why is this a brain habit? Because music plus movement plus memory equals neural fireworks. Let's break it down. When you hear a song, your auditory cortex is activated. When you recognize it, your memory centers, especially the hippocampus, light up. If you sing or hum along, you're using speech and vocal planning areas. If you move, your cerebellum and motor cortex kick in. If the song stirs emotion, your limbic system gets involved. That's 6 major brain regions activated simultaneously, in under 4 minutes. And here's the bonus. Music increases dopamine, which enhances neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections. This habit has been used in therapies for stroke survivors, Alzheimer's patients, and individuals with Parkinson's. But it's just as powerful for those who want to maintain clarity, speed, joy, and rhythm in their thinking. It's fun. It's free. It's freeing. Pick a different song every day. Or pick the same one and let it become your anthem. You're not just having a moment, you're training your brain. Let's take a breath and look at where we've been. You came into this video perhaps a little uncertain. Maybe you felt some mental fog lately. A name escaping you. A moment forgotten. A conversation that felt harder to follow than it should have. But look what you now hold in your hands. 5 tiny habits. Not drugs. Not surgery. Not complicated routines or expensive brain games. Just 5 simple things. 2 minutes of remembering your day. A walk with a category in mind. 90 seconds of stillness. Explaining something aloud. And moving with one song you love. They seem small, don't they? But that's the point. Because the mind, just like the body, doesn't respond to grand, infrequent efforts. It responds to small, consistent nudges. Repetition. Rhythm. Care. And if there's one truth most seniors forget, it's this. Your brain is still listening. It still wants to grow. It still wants to connect. It still wants to surprise you. And it will, if you let it. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to go back in time. You just need to become a little more present in this one. So tonight, before bed, try the recall. Tomorrow on your walk, try the category game. Take 90 seconds to reset. Teach back something from this very video. And tomorrow morning, let a song move you, even if only a little. They may not feel like much at first. But I promise you, if you give these habits a home in your daily life, they'll give you something back. Clarity, connection, and maybe even a few more years of independent, meaningful living. This is what the Elder Way is about. It's not about pretending to be young. It's about being powerfully old. If this video resonated with you, there's more waiting. Stories, strategies, and truths that are rarely told, but deeply needed. Your next step is simple. Pick one habit. Just one. Try it for 3 days. Then come back here and tell me in the comments how it changed you. And if it did, well, then we've just begun. I'll see you in the next video. Because your mind, your sharp, alive, beautiful mind, is just getting started.